I received a draft of a student's manga. This student used a technique called special effects lines and drawn letters in this page with 2 panels. I'd like to zoom in and take a look at this. At first glance, this is a well-drawn panel, but you can see the beta is uneven. If you look at this, you'll be able to see it, but you can see the black ink is spread unevenly. Well, this part and this part. For example, there are some gray, transparent areas in the hair, and some parts that the student forgot to fill in. When manga is printed, these kinds of mistakes will be printed as well, so I think it's important to fill in areas with black ink as carefully as possible. You can use calligraphy pens, markers, or ink pens to fill in areas with black ink. It's important to make pen strokes in one direction, and you can go over with 2 or 3 more strokes if necessary to fill the area. If you fill in with swirls like this, or like this, and the ink is spread unevenly, or if there are parts that you forgot to fill in, if you find some uneven parts, then apply a new coat of ink over it so you don't have any white spots. Try your best to make strokes that are evenly dense. Okay, so moving on to special effects lines. The student did a good job in general making the special effects lines. I can see there are parts where the lines are drawn sharply, mistakes, and other areas where the starting points of the lines aren't drawn precisely from the frame. If the student practices a little more, I think the student can definitely improve. Anyway, when you are using a pen, you want to test it on a separate piece of paper first. Then, when you're practicing, you want to draw the lines sharply from the frames, with the same width and sharpness. Doing that will help you practice. Well, these lines actually can become the foundation for outlined backgrounds, so I'd like you to practice this a lot and master it. Also, regarding the page's composition, the student drew the inner frames and the width, and the top and bottom parts have been cut, so the student's drawings have filled up almost all of the page. The top part here has too much white space, so I suggest drawing the head higher up and make use of the space. The top part in the top panel has a lot of white space, and the lower panel also has a lot of white space. So these panels put together don't make the page look busy. In other words, in terms of the composition of the page, when you're drawing characters, leaving space above the head creates a balanced look. But when that happens in 2 panels consecutively, that puts together 2 balanced panels, and the page loses an element of interest. So, for example, you can bring the character's head closer to the top edge, somewhere around here, to balance the other panel. and you can even zoom in onto the face in the lower panel. Zoom into the top part of the head or the bottom part of the head. I think it's okay to leave this space above small. You can zoom in or compress the top part. If the two panels were adjusted in different ways, I think it would improve the page. However, in general, I think the student did a great job carefully drawing the characters. There's room for improvement in drawing the special effects lines, but I can tell the student paid attention to details to create this page. Okay, and also, there are areas where the beta is done unevenly, as I mentioned earlier, so if the student can work on that and make the special effects sharper and cleaner, then I think the manga will in general look better. I'd like you to practice these areas to improve.